No class?
My computer starts.
That's good. No, not bad at all.
When I wear my sunglasses, my computer doesn't.
Yes.
Yeah. There's no audience today. All right, we'd like to welcome everyone and call to order the study meeting of the West Valley City Council. It is July 18th, 4:30 p.m. and we're meeting in the multi-purpose room of West Valley City Hall. Do we have,
Looks like Jake has not joined us just yet.
Okay.
And wait.
okay, so we'd like to excuse for the moment Councilman Whetstone, he will not be here tonight. Councilman Fitzsimmons may be joining us electronically. We'll let you know if he does. Otherwise, at the table, he just joined. Okay, he's just joined, so we're good there. We have Councilman Norfelt, Councilman Christensen, Councilman Harmon, Councilman Hune, and myself at the table. We have our city manager, Mr. Pyle, via Zoom, and our city recorder, Ms. Kamick, at the table with us. I'll now turn the minutes of July 11th, 2023 to the council for discussion or a motion.
I move for approval of the minutes.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye,
Aye.
and they'll stand approved. We will now review the regular meeting for tonight and the special building authority meeting. Are there any changes, Mr. Pyle?
Thank you, ma'am. The only change is the one short change to the administrative law judge ordinance where the council asked to have advice and consent on removing volunteers from that board.
Okay, thank you. Were there any questions from the council? Okay, thank you. Seeing none, we'll move on to our public hearings for next week. Our first one is application ZPZ 3/2023. There's no new information. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Pastrick? Okay, let's have him come up and we'll get those answered.
Steve, I have a question about this subdivision and the fact that the two zones that are proposed, R18 and agriculture for the other lot, right? That the house is right on the boundary of the two zone things. So
That's right.
so how's that gonna work when that piece that includes the old house is part R18, part A?
Sure. So we do have a number of properties in the city that have split zoning. We generally don't try to do that, but and I don't know, Nicole, if you're able to promote me, I can share my screen and try to describe this here. Just thinking about it. There you go. So on this is their conceptual. There we go. So the property that's up for rezoning is outlined in red. What they're proposing to do is, at least as far as the property boundaries are concerned, as you can see this line here, that would be included with this lot. So so the zoning would be R18 on this portion. And then that could go with this lot. Although at this point, if it was the council's preference, I don't know that the applicant would be opposed to actually having the zoning follow that boundary there for the, if I can get rid of, so basically follow this line here.
Yeah.
So that it's that lot 104 is all the same zone. I don't see an issue with that, but I can certainly ask that question.
This though is not the subdivision that we're approving.
That's correct.
It's just the rezoning, so the line might be different.
That is correct. At this point, there's not been, engineering done at this point. This is more conceptual. But at least in principle, I don't think the applicants would be opposed to having all of lot 104 be in the agricultural zone, but that's something I could confirm.
Do you see any potential problems with having it where the red dot is? Because to me, it makes more sense to follow the lot line as well. But I don't know what it does to that triangle piece they were trying to get into somewhere.
The only issue I see potentially would be that because they haven't actually engineered this and looked at drainage, there's a possibility that line could adjust slightly. We just don't know that yet.
But would they have to apply for a subdivision change to get that line to move the lot line?
So right now, at this point, everything in red is all one parcel currently.
Okay, so what is this line then that has the numbers? Is that just their conceptual
That's
plan?
correct.
That's not a legit recorded.
Exactly. So,
Okay.
so right now, whenever someone submits an application for a zone change, we ask that they give us at least a conceptual to say, here's what we intend to do. But again, it's at this stage, it wouldn't be engineered. And so there's the potential for lines adjusting somewhat.
Do you have off the top of your head, do you know what this front and rear setbacks are for the new zone?
For R18, it's 25 in the front and 20 in the rear.
Okay, so 45 total. Just looking at lot 102, it's gonna be pretty snug.
Right.
It's in 112.
One thing we had talked about because of that is that it is possible to do what we call an offset cul-de-sac. And in this case, it is to some degree already offset. So generally you have the cul-de-sac in kind of the dead center of the road, but it is possible to shift it to one side or the other. So if it were to shift a little more, if the bulb were to shift a little more to the east, that gives you a little more depth. But again, those kinds of details will be worked out as part of the subdivision.
Does that answer it well enough for you?
Yes.
Okay.
So just to clarify, would you like me to just ask the applicant if they're amenable to adjusting the zoning boundary to match what they're showing kind of along this line here as opposed to the current property boundary?
I think that would
Would
be,
that, oh, go ahead.
no, I just think that would be even more weird to have zoning change within one parcel. Just keep one parcel, all zone the same, instead of having multiple zones in one parcel.
I suspect when it's brought to us or brought to you for a subdivision, that the old house would become one parcel.
Correct.
Because that's really gonna be the line in the final subdivision anyway, right?
That's right.
I guess that there's not really that much of a problem to have part of it R18 and part of it A. There's really not enough to put a lot there anyway. So they'd have to do if they were gonna develop that differently, they'd have to do a zone change before us anyway.
And it's just assuming it's gonna look a lot like this side, R18. But we'll see.
How big is parcel A again?
The piece to the east here.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say it's about 2 acres is what I recall, but I don't remember for sure.
So that would have to go RE.
2.05.
If it's 2, yeah, if it's 2 or greater, then the code doesn't allow for the R18.
Okay. So it's 2.05. One of your slides has the plan.
So Steve, the next step, when will they bring it for the subdivision? Plat.
If the zoning is approved, at that point, it could be as soon as they have the plat ready to submit for the staff to review.
And they'll do engineering and all that. So there's no way even at the subdivision to change what the zoning is once they decide what that hard line is.
They could always come back and ask for a revision later,
Right.
but it wouldn't, as far as the ordinance is concerned, it wouldn't be required for them to do that.
Okay.
They could adjust that line as long as it stayed within the setbacks of the current house, correct?
Well, so with zoning,
Zoning is gonna be, encompass all of it, but
Right.
that line, their concept line could
Right.
be under a little bit.
right, we would just need to, as you point out, we would just need to make sure that the existing house met setback requirements.
Okay, any other questions? Yep, sorry.
Steep sort of parcel A right there, the same owner that's own that piece of property.
I believe so. I believe both parcels are owned by the same entity.
And they planning to do something there too, after this one.
They have not indicated to me what their plans are, if they're going to keep the house as is, or if they have future plans. At this point, they haven't said that they have any plans for that eastern parcel.
Okay, seeing nothing else, we'll move to the next one, which is Mr. Patrick as well. No new information, application GPZ for 2023. Any questions or concerns on this one?
We still need to make a decision of what we're willing to do as far as give us setbacks for the parking.
So what's in the development agreement currently would grant a reduction in the parking lot setbacks for that northern portion of the property. If the council doesn't want to grant that, we would just amend the development agreement to include just the right-of-way dedication.
Well, and on this drawing, it shows that it's at least on the on both. It's the front and the back, not just the north side. Everything is only the 5 feet.
Right, and the reason is the south portion, the properties on either side are commercial. So in those cases, it is 5 feet.
It is permitted. That's not an accept. That's not okay.
Exactly. As you move north on either side, it's agricultural. So that's what requires the 10-foot setback.
And a cinder block wall, correct?
That's right.
So basically, they take a small piece of land to put the parking lot. Right,
It really is just
the extra more.
So the code requires that if it's the edge of a parking lot and you have commercial neighbors, you just have 5 feet of landscaping. If it's a residential neighbor or agricultural zoning, you have a 10-foot setback. So really the question here is whether we want to allow for that reduction from 10 to 5 on the northern portion, because again, on the south portion of the property, they already have commercial neighbors that can do 5 feet already by code.
And my thought is the neighbors to the north are most likely going to be commercial in the future. I'm okay with the 5 feet.
All right, others, Jake. Okay, seeing no other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have our resolution 23-109, and we'll turn the time over to Chief Jacobs. Let her explain this one.
Good afternoon, Chief Jacobs, Chief of Police. I am here before you with an MOU with the, I'll try and get away from all the letters, a memorandum of understanding with the Attorney General's office over the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. This allows them to provide us with $15,000 in overtime and needed equipment. And in turn, we provide them with an overtime resource to assist with search warrants, investigations, and other needs when it comes to the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. This is a partnership we've had for many, many years, and the only thing that really varies is how much they're able to give us.
All right, any questions? Okay, thank you. All right, we now have one consent agenda item, which is 23-110. We'll turn it over to Mr. Pyle and then Mr. Johnson if needed.
Thanks, ma'am. Let me give it a shot, then maybe Dan doesn't have to come up. So this is in association with the Parkway Boulevard project from Mountain View Corridor from 264 West. And it is actually fairly substantial transaction with the property owner there, Montserrat G. Rodriguez Palayo and Angel Sacedo. But our in a total of almost $41,500, but our actual obligation from the city side is $2,809, as this is a federally funded project. It's kind of all the normal things. You have a warranty deed with the utility easement, construction easement, and of course the purchase of the property itself.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Any questions for Mr. Pyle on this one? So we did, at least mine doesn't show, maybe it does, a map of where it's at and what it's taking. So maybe it took a minute to get there. Okay, never mind, it's loaded now. Okay, anybody else have questions? Okay, thank you. We'll now go to the council calendar and ask if there's any concerns there. At one time, we had next week's meeting canceled, but it is back on. So we are definitely having meeting, study and regular, correct?
I'm not sure about study yet. The deadline is tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay,
Yes, but for sure regular.
okay.
Do you know the time of the Pioneer Crossing ribbon cutting?
I will
8
find out.
a.m. I mean 9 a.m. tomorrow.
Is that not on there?
It's Thursday.
Oh, sorry, yes, Thursday at 9 a.m. And it's on there, okay. Oh, but not the time.
Is it in your calendars? I'll make sure.
It's on my calendar.
I'll make sure that it is.
Okay,
It shows that it's on the calendar. We just may have missed it on the update.
okay, just the time. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Seeing no questions on that one, any potential future agenda items?
I don't know if there's a future agenda item, but just maybe kind of a report back on code enforcement. A couple people call and complain about code enforcement again. They must think that I'm friendly ear, I don't know, but they've called in code enforcement and apparently, and have said code enforcement's told them they're not enforcing cars on lawns and weeds over 6 inches, and so I think we were pretty clear on that a few months ago, so hopefully those things are being enforced.
I'm sure they are. If you do have a couple of specific places you want us to check out, then certainly go do that.
Okay, no one else? Okay, council reports. Oh, sorry.
I do want to have maybe next week or so, I mean, next time, whenever we have meeting to meet, can have a closed meeting, closed door meeting about the attorney. You want to know a little bit more about, report back to us or something.
We're doing that today.
Oh, today?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
There you go. Ask and it's done.
You're very quick.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Council reports.
Just the ongoing farmers market and ongoing Monday night concerts down at the cultural center. Great. Being well attended. With kudos to the Parks and Rec Department, so for both of them. And then they've also been opening new parks on a weekly basis too, so. Rocky Ridge today, I were there and very interesting little 1 acre park. Shows what you can do on a little bit of land.
Yeah, it was really nice. It turned out really nice.
Mhm.
And the opening was nice. And then we also have the food trucks on Wednesday nights.
Yeah.
So they've got some great things going on. Everybody's trying to think about what last week was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I read my calendar.
What did I do over the last week?
Yeah.
All right. Anything's on the strategic discussion list?
Not necessarily
Okay.
a report, but this year I did not receive nearly as many correspondences from neighbors and others about fireworks on the 4th. And I guess we still have the 24th coming up too, but is that, I mean, how was that for the rest of y'all? I feel like last year I got a lot of phone calls and emails about fireworks being at the wrong time or the wrong days or too loud, or we should outlaw selling them altogether. But how was it for the rest of y'all? I don't, in your neighborhoods, I didn't hear too much over here.
Had a couple before, but not during or after, so they were trying to be preemptive, I think, but didn't have any complaints.
Yeah, I had about the same amount as usual. So not too
I
bad.
haven't had any this year, but I've had some in the past. So far, but we still have the 24th next week.
Yeah. And hopefully that'll go as smoothly as the 4th did.
Hopefully.
We only had the one child get hit in the head with a firework and go to primaries for a bit. He got released yesterday or the day before. I don't know what else we had. A lot more?
Couple fires.
Okay. From fireworks? Okay. So there's still a problem with them.
But you put them out, right?
There we go. Okay. All right. Did anybody have anything on the strategic discussion list they wanted to work on tonight? Okay, we will have a need for a closed session. The person participating with us probably won't be here for a little bit longer. We kind of gave them an idea of when we'd be done, and obviously we're off by a bit. So I'll double check what time he'll be here. So I don't know what that lag does for us, but
I think we could just go into closed session when needed. We'll just make a note of
When
the
it
time
started
that
and when it
began
stopped.
and when it ends, and I'll just
Okay.
make that note in the minutes.
Okay.
So we
So
would still need the motion to,
for personal competency.
Professional competency.
And we checked with legal before we started to make sure we were on the right notion, correct? Okay.
Correct.
So if someone would like to make that motion,
Motion.
Second.
and a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Councilman Nordfelt,
Yes.
Councilman Christensen,
Yes.
Councilman Harmon,
Yes.
Councilman Hune,
Aye.
Councilman Fitzie Umanu.
Aye.
Mayor Ling.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, so we'll hang out until he gets here and then we'll start that with Nicole's assistance.